In the 1980s, an Australian university quietly refined a piece of technology that would change human history. But for over 50 years, the world barely noticed. While global superpowers fought viciously over finite reserves of oil and coal, a monumental scientific breakthrough was silently waiting in the wings, ready to rewrite the entire global economy. That invention was the modern, high-efficiency solar cell. And the nation that birthed it is now waking up to a geographical advantage that borders on the absolutely unfair. For decades, Australia relied heavily on digging up black coal. They were viewed as the dirty underdog of the global climate transition, chained to a rapidly dying industrial era. But a breathtaking prophecy is now unfolding across the Outback. This isolated continent is aggressively maneuvering to become the undisputed, absolute superpower of the post-carbon world. The science is undeniable. Australia essentially won the global photon lottery. The continent receives the highest average solar radiation per square meter of any major landmass on Earth. Combine that relentless, blistering sun with an almost incomprehensible amount of empty, flat land, and you create the perfect mathematical equation for limitless, cheap energy generation. Citizens acted first. Millions of ordinary Australians turned their own roofs into mini power plants, quietly establishing the highest per capita solar generation rate in the entire world. And that core technology invented in Sydney decades ago? It now powers nearly 90% of all modern solar panels manufactured globally. The world already runs on Australian engineering. But the sun is only half the equation. The continent is flanked by some of the fiercest, most consistent oceanic wind currents on Earth, providing a perfect complement to solar. Now, visionaries are executing megaprojects that defy human comprehension. Deep in the remote Outback, they are constructing renewable energy hubs so massive they literally alter the landscape. The strategy is no longer just powering themselves. They intend to actively export their blazing sunlight across the globe, starting with the most ambitious electrical engineering project in history. Developments like the Asian Renewable Energy Hub are slated to produce unprecedented amounts of power, easily dwarfing the output of traditional fossil fuel plants by a staggering margin. They are preparing to lay thousands of miles of high-voltage direct current cables deep beneath the ocean, creating a permanent, physical energy artery directly linking Australia to Southeast Asia. But cables are just the beginning. The ultimate endgame relies on utilizing this massive, cheap solar surplus to manufacture liquid green hydrogen at a scale the world has never seen. By converting pure sunlight into transportable zero-emission fuel, they can load it onto massive fleets of supertankers, completely replacing their legacy coal and gas exports overnight. The economic mathematics are staggering. Projections indicate that exporting this clean, renewable energy will rapidly eclipse the total financial value of all their historical fossil fuel revenues combined. Soon, massive, glittering metropolises thousands of miles away in Asia will keep their lights on using nothing but the blistering heat generated by the remote Australian desert. But this rapid, unprecedented transformation is not without immense danger. The sheer speed of solar adoption is pushing the fragile, legacy electrical grid to the absolute breaking point. When the sun sets every evening, solar generation violently drops to zero just as domestic power demand abruptly skyrockets. This creates a terrifying, unstable mismatch known as the duck curve. To prevent catastrophic nationwide blackouts, engineers realized they had to deploy gigawatts of critical energy storage. Without massive batteries, the entire solar prophecy would collapse in the dark. The solution was brute force engineering. They built the largest lithium-ion batteries the world had ever seen, acting as massive shock absorbers to instantly inject stability back into the grid. Yet, the old guard fought back fiercely. Intense political lobbying from legacy fossil fuel empires attempted to violently throttle the transition, desperate to maintain their century-old grip on power. Simultaneously, engineers battled the sheer tyranny of distance. Dragging thousands of miles of heavy transmission lines across unforgiving deserts and mountains became a logistical nightmare of epic proportions. But economics and physics always win. Unable to compete with the plummeting cost of free sunlight, ancient coal plants began rapidly closing down, years ahead of their scheduled demise. The grid was successfully stabilized. The underdog successfully transformed its entire domestic network into a hyper-efficient, decentralized clean energy machine, proving the model to the rest of the world. Now, the ports are bustling once again. But instead of black rock, they are shipping the pure, harnessed power of the sun and wind to every corner of the globe. What started as a completely ignored invention in a small laboratory has fundamentally secured the economic and environmental future of an entire continent. Australia is no longer the dirty underdog. It has fulfilled the prophecy, officially cementing its legacy as the undisputed clean energy superpower of the 21st century. If you work in the solar industry and want to precisely track, analyze, and optimize real project performance without the guesswork, the link to Base app is below.